Chang's bad habit. Good morning, everyone. Allow me to begin with a simple truth that many of us tend to overlook. Bad habits are like chains, too light to be fought at first, yet too heavy to break once they take hold. As students, we are no stranger to procrastination, poor discipline, or unhealthy routines. We often treat these as minor flaws, things we can fix whenever we feel ready. However, the reality is that each time we give in to this habit, we are silently exchanging your long-term potential for short-term comfort. What makes bad habits so difficult to overcome is that they really feel harmful in the moment. They come disguised as harmless relief, just 5 more minutes or I will start tomorrow. Over time, however, these small compromises accumulate, gradually pulling us further away from the goals we once set for ourselves. The good news is that change does not require a dramatic overnight transformation. Research in behavioral psychology suggests that consistent incremental improvement, even as little as 1% per day, is far more sustainable and effective than relying on bursts of motivation alone. Real progress is built through daily choice, not grand gestures. To truly change, we must perceive our perspective. Rather than defining ourselves by our past failures, we should consciously build a new identity, one rooted in self discipline and intentional living. Our future is not determined by the resolution we make at the start of each year, but by the small, deliberate decisions we make each and every day. In closing, I invite all of us to reflect honestly on the habit we have allowed to hold us back. Let us move forward not as victims of our past, but as active architects of our own future. Change will never be entirely comfortable, but if it's far more painful to look back years from now and realize we never even tried. The best time to change was yesterday, the second best time is now. Hello everyone, it's a pleasure to be here today. My name is Revana Firwansa, student ID 6325096 from class 632A26 at Universitas Binasarana Informatika. Today, I do like to take you through an interesting topic in English grammar, countable noun. By the end of this presentation, I hope you will have a much clearer understanding of how they work. So, without further ado, let's dive right in. Let's start with the basic. What exactly is a countable noun? Simply put, a countable noun is a noun that refers to something we can count individually one by one. And here, a quick and easy trick to test it. If you can say 1, 2, 3 in front of the word, then congratulations, it's a countable noun. Now, countable noun come in two forms. One, singular. When we're talking about just one thing. For example, a cat or a book. Two, plural. When we're referring to more than one. For example, cats or 5 books. It's as simple as that. So, now that we know about countable noun, let's talk about how to identify them. There are actually four reliable ways to recognize a countable noun. The first sign is that it can take the article e or in before it. For example, a dog or an apple. If you can naturally put e or n in front of it, it's countable. The second sign is that it works perfectly with number. For example, 2 dogs or 10 books. You can count them. The third sign is that it has a plural form, meaning you can add s or es to it, or it changes into an irregular form. For example, dogs, books, and children. And the fourth sign is that it pairs well with quantifier like many, few, and several. For example, many students or few ideas. Keep this four sign in mind, and identifying countable noun will become second nature to you. Now let's move on to the singular form and its formula. The formula is straightforward: E or in plus noun, one plus noun, or the plus noun. Here the breakdown. 1. Use E when the noun begins with a consonant sound. For example, a book, a cat, a dog. 2. Use N when the noun begins with a vowel sound. That's A, I, U, E, or O. For example, an apple, an egg, an orange. 3. And use one when you want to specifically emphasize the number. For example, I have one sister. So, the rules is really about the sound that follows, not just the letter. Keep that in mind. Moving along, let's look at the plural form. The formula here is noun plus s or es number plus noun, or many, few, several plus noun. To make this even clearer, let's see how it works in three types of sentence. First, positive. She has 3 cats. They bought 10 tickets. 2. Negative. She does not have any cats. We don't have any tickets. 3. Question. Are there any cats here? Do you have any tickets? You can see the structure changes depending on whether the sentence is positive, negative, or a question, but the noun itself stays in its plural form. Now, this is where it gets a little more detailed. The spelling rules for making nouns plural. Don't worry, once you see the pattern, it's actually quite logical. First, most nouns simple at s. For example, book becomes books, cat becomes cats. Next, nouns ending in s, sh, ch, x, z, at es. For example, bus become buses, books become boxes, lunch become lunches. Next, consonant. Plus y, drop the y and add es. For example, city becomes cities, baby become babies. Next, vowel. Plus way, just add s. For example, they becomes days, boy become boys. Next, noun ending in f or fe change to vs. For example, left become live, wife becomes wife. And finally, irregular nouns that don't follow any rule, so we simply have to memorize them. For example, man become man, child becomes children, tooth become teeth, foot become feet. This rule might look like a lot at first, but with practice, they will feel completely natural. Now let's talk about quantifier. The words we use to describe how many of something there are. The first three quantifiers are especially important to distinguish. 1. Many. Used when referring to a large number, typical in neutral or negative contexts. For example, there are many students in the room. 2. A few. Used for a small number with a positive tone. It implies some and that's enough. For example, I have a few friends here. 3. Few also refers to a small number but with a negative tone, suggesting not enough. For example, few students pass the test. Notice the difference between a few and few. They look similar, but they carry very different meanings. And here are three more useful quantifiers. 1. Several means more than two and it has a natural tone. For example, she bought several books. 2. A number of means some or a certain quantity of something. It's used in more formal or neutral contexts. For example, a number of problems arose during the project. 3. A lot of express a large amount and it's commonly used in informal everyday speech. For example, he has a lot of ideas. Choose the right quantifier really depends on the context and the tone you want to convey. Formal, informal, positive, or negative. Let's bring everything together with some example sentence organizer by category. For people and animals, singular, I saw a student in the library and she has a dog. Plural, I saw many students in the library and she has 3 dogs. For objects and things, singular, she bought a book and I need a pen. Plural, she booked 5 books and I need a few pens. For planes, singular, we visit a city and there is a school nearby. Plural, we visit many cities and there are several schools nearby. This example clearly shows how countable nouns behave differently, singular and plural form, and how the article and quantifier change along with them. And now we reach the end of our discussion. Let me take a moment to summarize the key point. Countable nouns are nouns that refer to things we can count one by one. They exist in 2 forms, singular and plural. You can identify them by checking whether they work with article like e or n, whether they pair with number, whether they have a plural form, and whether they go with quantifier. When making them plural, there are specific spelling rules to follow and a handful of irregular forms that simply need to be memorized. And when it comes to expressing quantity, choosing the right quantifier, whether it's many, a lot of, several, a few, or few, depends entirely on the context of the sentence. I hope this presentation has given you a solid understanding of countable nouns and how to use them correctly in English. That brings us to the end of my presentation. I truly appreciate your time and attention throughout this session. If you have any question or would like to discuss anything further, I do be more than happy to answer. Once again, my name is Revana Firwansa. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.